When martial law was imposed on 5th July 1977, General Zia-ul-Haq announced elections in 90 days, and the kind of response Bhutto was getting. So those elections were postponed. P. Junejo said that democracy and martial law can't go together. Benazir Bhutto's government was dismissed. She couldn't believe it. The Punjab went to Nawaz Sharif. MQM was part of the coalition when Benazir's government was formed in '88. But during the vote of no confidence, they vote against her. ISI's political cell was established during Bhutto's period. When Nawaz Sharif's government was dismissed, again, I called 1990 election as mother of all rigging. Sultan Hussain left Pakistan until now. So in 1997, when Nawaz Sharif got 2/3 majority, he went too far and too fast. But he tried to become Amirul Momineen. So Chaudhry Nisar and Shahbaz Sharif proposed the name of General Musharraf. ये तो मेरी बात ही नहीं सुनता. Former Indian Prime Minister Vajpayee visited. Vajpayee called Nawaz Sharif after that and said, Miyan Sahib, ye kya kar rahe? If the Prime Minister did any adventure, just throw him out. So when he appointed him and sacked Musharraf, army took over. इतना crowd तो आ रहा है मुझे सुनने. So I used to say, Imran, ये तुम्हें सुनने नहीं आ रहे, ये तुम्हें देखने आ रहे हैं.
Of the summary of those elections, what would you give us?
How to rig elections.
Elections in Pakistan have always been eventful. There have been accusations, there have been rigging, and there have been coups. Each election has been different from the other ones. But today we are going to be discussing the 90s elections. There were 4 elections in a period of 10 years. Assalamu alaikum, my name is Hawa Fazal, and today we have with us Mazhar Abbas, who will be discussing with us what happened in all these 4 elections, which were supposed to be 2, but there were 4. So jumping right into it, discussing the 88 elections, which was done after a long haul of military dictatorship that we had in the country. So how did it start off?
Thank you. You see, when martial law was imposed on 5th July 1977, General Zia-ul-Haq announced elections in 90 days, which means that if martial law was imposed on July, elections were supposed to be held in October. But a few weeks before the polling day, I remember I attended Begum Nusrat Bhutto's public meeting at Nishtar Park in Karachi a few days before the elections. And I told, we were in university, so I told my friend that I doubt elections will be held because it's such a huge crowd, and the kind of response Bhutto was getting, and after which he was arrested. So those elections were postponed, and you'll be surprised that some of the intellectuals and some of the editors approached Zia-ul-Haq to postpone the elections.
Oh, wow.
They belong to right-wing parties and right-wing journals and magazines, and they apprehended that perhaps if Bhutto came to power again, he'll ban their publications, which he did when he was in power. But they admitted that they committed a mistake, and I spoke to some of them who actually approached Zia-ul-Haq. And then he promised election in 1979. But those elections were again postponed within weeks before the elections. Then it was an indefinite postponement till 1985. Now the 1985 non-party based elections itself is a form of rigging, pre-poll rigging, declaring elections on non-party basis, And that approach basically divided the society into feudals, into brotherly and caste systems, and And then he picked a prime minister from Sindh, Mohammad Khan Junejo, and he thought that perhaps Junejo and bringing someone from Sindh will actually, he tried to balance the PUP, power and sense of deprivation in Sindh. But in his very first speech, Junejo said that democracy and martial law can't go together. So that was a shocking statement for Zia-ul-Haq. He tried to, his secretary information was General Mujib. And General Mujib censored that line. And Junejo sacked him. And so Junejo was a very surprise package for everyone. He allowed freedom of expression, he allowed political liberty, he allowed civil liberties. And in the end, in 1988, on 28th May 1988, while Junejo was coming from a tour from abroad, he was sacked. And then elections were promised in 90 days, and then this incident of Zia-ul-Haq took place, and a military high command headed by General Aslam Beg and acting President Asghar Khan, who was till that time Chairman Senate, they decided to hold elections. And so the 1990 elections, 1988 elections were planned. But ironically, General Hamid Gul, who was the DG-ISI at that time, and he later confessed, I interviewed him quite a few times, and he said that because there was an apprehension within the military establishment, particularly after looking to massive and mammoth crowd of Benazir Bhutto when she arrived in Pakistan. And he said that there was an apprehension that, if elections are held, she could get 2/3 majority. So they tried to manage the elections. And in that way, they formed an Islami Jamhuri Ittihad of religious liberal parties, which includes PML at that time. At that time, it was not PMLN, it was PML. And although Nawaz Sharif, revolted against Junejo, but ultimately the IJI, he headed the IJI, and they managed the election in such a manner that the Punjab went to Nawaz Sharif, and Benazir Bhutto got a simple majority. But when she got the simple majority, it took almost 15 days before transfer of power, because preconditions were put before Benazir Bhutto. That if you agree on these points, then you'll be handed over the power. And I once interviewed Benazir, and she admitted that it was her mistake. And because of the pressure from some of the party leaders, that after suffering almost 11 years, if we decided to sit on the opposition means another few years for workers to suffer in prison. So she said that she ultimately, either you can say succumb to the pressure, or maybe she decided that let's try. But within 8 to 9 months, a vote of no confidence was moved against her. And that was also manipulated by Asghar Khan. Again, she committed another political blunder by supporting Asghar Khan for presidency instead of her old colleague and MRD leader Nawab Nasrullah Khan. But she defeated some of the other, and that was the point which actually gave a political entry to Asif Ali Zardari. Because he told her that you can't defeat vote of no confidence, in ideological political scenario. You have to go out of box. You have to find out of box solution to defeat vote of no confidence.
What was their out of box solution?
Their out of box solution was that Nawaz Sharif IJI's, MNAs were taken to by PMLN or IJI, or those who were supporting, who were behind IJI. They were taken to Murray rest house, and People's Party and their allies, their MNAs were taken to Sawat, And then on August 6, 1990, Benazir Bhutto's government was dismissed. She couldn't believe it, because in the morning of August 6th, the Nation, former editor of the Nation, Arif Nizami, filed a scoop that her government would be dissolved today. So she was very annoyed with Arif Nizami, that how can you say I just came from President's house and everything is all right, everything is okay. And in the evening, her government was dismissed. And then Asghar Khan announced elections in 90 days. The interim Prime Minister was Mustafa Jatoi, who once was PPP Chief Minister during Bhutto's period. And it was writing on the wall.
What was the reason behind behind dissolving her government? Did they give a reason? And how did Asghar Khan just dissolve dissolve the government just one fine evening?
No, they charge sheet her.
Okay.
In his speech, they cited corruption. They cited, he gave an example of a case in which a businessman of Punjab, I don't remember his first name, Bukhari, his second name was, that he was kidnapped and a bomb was planted in one of his foot, and then ransom was received, and Benazir in her press conference after dismissal of a government, termed these allegations as baseless, and she even named one of the journalists and said that a major used to give him news, and she was very annoyed, very furious, and she directly accused military intelligence for the dismissal. But then an interim setup was, and at that time it was not a caretaker government as such. It was because Jatoi was also the leader of IJI, and he became the interim Prime Minister also. And I interviewed Jatoi also about the possible manipulation, what really took place a few years after these elections. And it was obvious that since Benazir Bhutto's government was dismissed and the establishment and the presidency were behind her dismissal, so obviously they will not allow her to come back. And this pattern continued during 90s, this pattern of elections.
So there was also media propaganda against her. Someone told me कि उनके ऊपर ज़्यादा proper propaganda था, in which she had even fallen from the public eye. It was just because of her disagreement with that. She has also fallen from the public eye. What were the reasons? What were the events, which cited that the public was really angry with her?
There were a lot of stories, particularly against her husband, Asif Ali Zardari. There were more stories against him rather than against her.
Okay.
And
what kind of stories were they?
It was like the one I told you. Then there were also, incidents in which there were some criminal cases also, and he was also arrested. And later on, there was a case of, I still remember, there was a case of a murder case of a judge of a high court, who was handling a plot case near Awami Markaz plot case. And then there was also a murder case of a steel mill chairman, Pakistani steel chairman also. And then the MQM factor. MQM was part of the coalition when Benazir's government was formed in 88. But in 1989, when vote of no confidence was moved, and MQM was approached by, Altaf Hussain was approached by, by the establishment that you should continue with the coalition with Benazir, but during the vote of no confidence, give vote against her. And they did it on their assurance that vote of no confidence would be passed. And there was a meeting near Abdullah Shah Ghazi's Mazhar, in a house in which top people were there. And Altaf Hussain was assured that Benazir's government is going. You just have to create law and order situation.
Okay. So there was political motivation.
There was a political motivation, but when the vote of no confidence was defeated, Altaf Hussain was shocked because Benazir Bhutto, got angry that you were part of our coalition and then you ditched us. And MQM had no answer for that. And then MQM formally left the government and formed an alliance with Nawaz Sharif and IGI, and they held a huge public meeting in 1990. And when once I asked Jatoi Saab what exactly happened, and he said there was an understanding between Aslam Beg and him and Nawaz Sharif that after the 1990 elections, he'll be the Prime Minister, Nawaz Sharif will be the Chief Minister of Punjab. Okay. And somehow or the other, he was of the view that perhaps Aslam Beg was thinking that he might become the president after retirement. But according to Jatoi, Nawaz Sharif had other plans. So when they led a procession in Rahim Yar Khan in Punjab, so people started raising slogan, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, Wazir Azam Nawaz Sharif. So he said that he was the interim Prime Minister, so he asked his ADC to book his ticket for Karachi. So he left in between, and then he said that I came back, I was defeated, my own nominees were defeated, and later on Nawaz Sharif compensated him by getting him elected from Mia Channu, So this all happened, this all happened. So Zardari became the main target of attack, whether it's 1990 election, whether it's 1993, whether it's 1996. And the dilemma was that, once the charges against Zardari could be right or could be wrong, but the problem with the caretaker governments or the then presidency or the establishment, that none of these cases ever been properly prosecuted. So ultimately, Zardari came out clean, And when we used to visit him in prison, and he said that I have only two houses, one in Central Prison, Karachi, and the other is Prime Minister House.
There was also this problem of Benazir with, she was facing problems within her own family as well, from, her own mother and Murtaza Bhutto, and then he was eventually, assassinated during her government as well. So how was this scene? How was the scene?
Begum Nusrat Bhutto was, jam of a person. She once she once used to say me, तुम्हें नहीं पता ये बहुत बचपन से बहुत ज़िद्दी है. She used to tell about Benazir. भुट्टो साहब एक मरतबा गाड़ी लाए शाहनवाज के लिए, ये ले गई वो गाड़ी. But she definitely she was Shahnawaz was closest to her. Whenever she used to talk about Shahnawaz, her voice choked, and it was she couldn't speak much about Shahnawaz, whenever I interviewed her. Benazir Bhutto, in a way, knew that her mother is purely a housewife, and she according to her, she don't know the dynamics of politics, handling with the opposition, Some of the other she sidelined her, and she made her life chairperson, and but Benazir Begum Bhutto, no one could stop Benazir Begum Bhutto. I remember when People's Party's government came into power in 1988, I attended one of the functions in which Chief Minister Qaim Ali Shah was there, and other PP top hierarchy was there, and And one of the PB workers asked Qaim Ali Shah, कि आप हमें नौकरियां क्यों नहीं दे रहे, ये नहीं दे रहे. And so she looked to Qaim Ali Shah or she said कि जवाब दो उनको. And he tried to explain कि नौकरियां हैं नहीं. So that boy, you know, उसने कोई पर्चा निकाला and he said that आपने अपने इस फलां रिश्तेदार को नौकरी दी है, ये है पर्चा. So Begum Bhutto said that you people have to answer all these questions, you know. And so she was that kind of a person, a motherly figure for the party. And but in 1993, Benazir Bhutto once told me that in 1986, when she was coming back, she went to Damascus and she discussed with Murtaza Bhutto, and she advised him to quit this violent politics and come with me and come to Pakistan. And you know, it's a new journey. And Junaid had promised all kind of a protection, and you know, Murtaza was not very comfortable. Murtaza said that it's a trap for you. And he said that how can you expect Junaid to be so powerful in the presence of Zia-ul-Haq, you know. So he had that apprehensions, you know. So when she went there and she wrote to Murtaza, "Dekho, everything is all right. I came, massive crowd was there. Please come back and shun this politics of violence, and you know, and there's only you can, you know, lead the party after me, and you know, we can together." So, but in '88, when Benazir Bhutto was about to form the government, he issued a statement advising her not to form the government, sit in the opposition. And later on, she said that Murtaza was right, you know. But in 1993, I remember, because at that time I interviewed Benazir, I interviewed Begum Bhutto, I interviewed Murtaza. And Benazir advised Murtaza that you should contest from PVP platform. If you want some of your friends to be contested, some of your, you know, close colleagues, we can issue tickets to them, and I assure you that there will be no problem in getting them elected, you know, in Sindh. But there were people around Murtaza who advised him that no, don't fall in this trap. It's Asif Ali Zardari is behind all this, and you know. So Murtaza decided, and I remember there was a meeting, family meeting at Sindh Club, in which Begum Bhutto was there, Benazir was there, Fakhri Begum, you know, and some other family friends. And then, you know, Benazir tried to convince that Murtaza tried to understand, let me first become the Prime Minister, let me see how the establishment behave, you know, what are their apprehension about you, you know, and then come.
Why were there apprehensions about Murtaza Bhutto?
Because he was the mastermind of hijacking, PIA hijacking, which took place in '81. He was, and there was a case against him of the murder of you know, by one of the hijackers killed Captain Tariq Rahim, you know, in the plane. It was in 1981. So he was the main accused of the PIA hijacking, you know. That was and so Benazir Bhutto's apprehension was serious, but Begum Bhutto wanted him back. That became the point of conflict between the two, you know. So when I interviewed Begum Bhutto, he said that yes, one of the you know, top military commander came to me and, you know, and asked me to not to allow Murtaza to come, you know, and she said that I got annoyed with him, and I told him, who are you to tell me, and you know, this kind of, and I you know, that interview I think is still there in the Friday Times. So Begum Bhutto was like that, and so Murtaza came back, and and announce his own party. His main target, he never directly, rarely he criticized Benazir. His main target was Asif Ali Zardari.
Oh.
And so when he formed People's Party, Shaheed Bhutto group, and so he thought that it's perhaps he thought that it's a male-dominating society, and people will accept him
more than they accept
Benazir. But he was badly mistaken, and he was a very, very, his personality was very towering, and he whenever he got elected as an MP, and whenever he walked in to the Sindh Assembly, even the People's Party's MPs, they were all out of respect also and out of fear also. But he has his own style of politics. And Begum Bhutto personally, went door to door for him to get elected, and so it was very, very depressing for the PP workers, the old PP workers, that the way Begum Bhutto was pleading for the vote, and but somehow the other he was the only one who got elected as an MPA. His other party men were defeated, and even after that, Benazir did try for a patch-up, but perhaps because of Asif Ali Zardari, that took place, and then this happened of 1996 tragedy of Murtaza Bhutto. That's a separate story.
Yeah, that's a separate story. So forgive me, but there was this one term which was used for Asif Ali Zardari at that time.
10%.
Yes.
Mr. 10%. It was first used, I think, in the news.
Okay.
And that was again after that case of Bukhari's kidnapping, and so it was a build-up basically, and Asif Zardari has his own style of politics. He has never been a populist. He never went for populist politics, He was a master of maneuvering politics,
Okay.
And because he was a polo player also during his college days, and after that. But he did try, but because he lacked that kind of oratory which Benazir or Bhutto used to have, and even Murtaza used to have. He never had that kind of a fiery style of speaking, So he decided not to be, he didn't try to be popular, he tried to be master of management.
Okay.
And so he Benazir once told me that he passed in his first test when he because of his mastery, he defeated vote of no confidence, and she gave credit to him that otherwise she said that it looked very difficult because the establishment was behind the vote of no confidence, the presidency was behind the vote of no confidence. So in 1993, when Nawaz Sharif's government was dismissed, again. But before that, how elections were rigged in 1990?
Oh, they were rigged.
They were not only rigged. I called 1990 election as mother of all rigging.
Okay.
Because for the first time, I think, and had this case which later famous and known as Asghar Khan case, in which the Supreme Court ultimately, and that is the only case in which of election rigging and election accusation of rigging, That is the only case in which Supreme Court categorically, after years of hearing, declared that 1990 elections were rigged. And it is the only case in which one of the former ISI chief, General Sadurani, gave an affidavit, on oath that he distributed some 90 million among the opposition parties, anti-PVP parties, which means IJI leaders, and even some of the columnists and journalists. He named them. And he during the hearing, I think Justice Saeed-ul-Zaman Siddiqui was during the proceedings and during the hearings, the story again was when the story was leaked, and it was also leaked in the news, and the audios. That was the first time when we started hearing the audio leaks, and the audios of politicians.
They're that old.
Yeah, and the way Yunus Habib, who was the banker, and he was Mehran Bank was established, and Yunus Habib, who was otherwise in Habib Bank, he was the main character, who I think he was also sentenced for 10 years, but he got through jail remissions and all this, he got out from the prison within 3 years, and when very interestingly, in one of the inquiry on Yunus Habib, it said that the way he used to bribe the politician, he also bribed the jail officials, because there are few things, if you do that, you'll get in prisons, lesser prisons, and you got remissions, and so he gave blood. For instance, if you donate blood, if you do some exams, so your sentence will be reduced for 1 month or 2 months. So one of the Home Secretary said that he gave thrice or 4 times blood donations, and each time with different blood group. So that kind of a manipulation Yunus Habib was known for. But ultimately, it was Asghar Khan, when Asghar Khan wrote a letter to Supreme Court. Asghar Khan was a he was a former air chief, and he was also the head of Pakistan National Alliance (PNA), which launched the movement against Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. And his famous quote during the anti-Bhutto movement was that Zulfikar Ali Bhutto को फांसी दे दी जाए और इस तरह का अटक चौक के ऊपर इस तरह की, which he later clarified. I interviewed him, Asghar Khan, so he clarified, and but he was a very principled kind of a politician. He was a very clean politician, unlike many others. So he said that when this happened, because ISI's political cell was established during Bhutto's period.
Okay, ISI had a political cell.
ISI had a political cell, and it was established during Bhutto's period because Bhutto wanted to know the activities of his opposition parties, and particularly National Awami Party, which was ultimately banned during Bhutto's period, the only left-wing political party at that time. So Asghar Khan wrote a letter that, and it was a one-liner basically, that he wanted to know whether ISI's political cell still exists or not. So the Supreme Court You see, Asghar Khan has a reputation of a very clean person. He was very blunt. Even when he was the air chief, he was very blunt. And so when he came to know about this 1990 election, and this case also, so he had written a letter to the Supreme Court asking question whether the political cell of the ISI still exists or not. And it was related with this case also because there were allegations that, of elections manipulations and the role of the intelligence agencies in these elections and the money distributed among the politicians. So that was the background why he decided. So Asghar Khan, I interviewed Asghar Khan also, and he said that he just wanted to know, he just wanted to, if his political cell still exists, why? And so later on, when Sayyid-ul-Zama Siddiqui retired, and war, didn't allow to continue after Musharraf's coup. So I interviewed him, and he said that when this letter came to him, so he inquired, he asked, as usual, he forwarded the letter to the concerned department, and that reply took almost 2 to 3 years.
3 years for a simple letter.
A simple reply.
A simple letter with one question.
Yeah, with one question, and ultimately, I believe the reply was that that cell didn't exist. Whether it didn't or not, we don't know. And because those kind of allegations still comes on the establishment. So according to Sayyid-ul-Zama Siddiqui, he was about to give the verdict on this case when Musharraf took over, and then he was not allowed to continue. And so that was the background of that case, and that case continued for many years, and till recently, I think about 2-3 years back, finally the Bashir Memon, who was the DGFI, because the Supreme Court, after establishing it, after declaring it that 1990 elections were rigged, Supreme Court issued direction to the FIA or the Interior Ministry to inquire about and to take action against the people who distributed this money and the people who took this money. But the last report, which was submitted by DGFI, Bashir Memon, it said that they couldn't find the people who distributed the money. They named some of the officers who they believe that were the people who gave the money, but according to Bashir Memon's report, these people are untraceable. Some of them are abroad or something like that. Looked like it's a cover-up.
As always.
So this is perhaps the only election, which ultimately proven has been rigged.
And then people disappeared who were responsible, so nothing happened. No one was held responsible.
Yeah.
As always, it happened again in Pakistan.
Yeah. So then came 1993. Excuse me. 1993 elections again. Everyone knew Benazir Bhutto wouldn't come. Nawaz Sharif became the prime minister, and then he developed in 1990. Really, what happened is that trouble started in urban Sindh, and General Asif Nawaz, who was the army chief at that time, and before becoming the army chief, he was also the co-commander Sindh. So he filed a report before Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif about law and order situation in Sindh, and about need for an operation in Sindh, And there were two reports, one about the interior Sindh, the other one about the urban Sindh. And in urban Sindh, obviously, MQM being targeted, MQM being blamed for law and order, and Bhatta and all this. And in rural Sindh, he suggested operation against dacoits. And there were stories about 72 big fishes.
72 big fishes.
Which means those people, who supported dacoits and who are basically using criminals and behind kidnapping for ransom and all kind of these crimes, So they believe that these are the 72 people who, if they get apprehended, things can improve. So Nawaz Sharif gave a go-ahead, but till that time, MQM was part of the government. And MQM leaders also attended that meeting in which it was decided. So, but in that meeting, there were no, reports regarding the urban Sindh. So it was somehow the other kept secret from MQM. So when the operation was launched, I think in May 1992, and before that, I think in January 92 or in December 91, Jam Sadiq Ali, who was the chief minister at that time, he tipped Altaf Hussain to leave Pakistan. And he said to Altaf Hussain that, since you supported me, since you backed me, I would not have become the chief minister without your support. So this is the time to pay you back. And I advise you to leave Pakistan because I have reports that so Altaf Hussain left Pakistan, and till now, he never returned. So initially the operation was launched against dacoits in rural Sindh, and but within few weeks or within few days, there was an incident at a place called Tando Bhawal.
Okay.
And the initial reports were that 9 criminals were killed, and the army, since the army had been deployed in Sindh under Article 245 or 147, and so army, the officers who were looking after that operation in Tando Bhawal, they briefed the media and put a lot of arms. These arms were recovered from dacoits, and these were the 9 dacoits, and they issued a long list of crimes committed by these people. But I think within 2 days, or maybe within 24 hours, there was a story in Sindhi Daily Kavish and in the news that those killed were not dacoits; they were villagers, innocent villagers, and it's and that story created quite a stir.
It was a blowback to the.
It's a blowback to the whole operation. And General Asif Nawaz, the kind of general he was, he took strong notice of it, because even because it was the first operation, which was in which they claimed that the dacoits had been killed. So even I think the president, I don't remember whether Aslam Bey, General Asif Nawaz also visited the place, but definitely the Prime Minister and the President visited and congratulated the officers who were involved in that. So after that story, it's really a blow to the whole operation. So what General Asif Nawaz did, he ordered an inquiry, and the military intelligence conducted the inquiry and found major ushers behind it. and they admitted that those who were killed were not dacoits. And so Major Arshad was court-martialed and he was hanged. But after that, serious questions raised on the operations. So in the end, ultimately, they practically dumped operation in rural Sindh. And on 19 June, they launched an operation in Karachi and Hyderabad. And that directly targeted MQM. And MQM immediately reacted and decided to pull out from the government. So at the center, Nawaz Sharif's government had not faced any problem, But in Sindh, it became quite a problem because Jam Sadiq Ali ultimately died, and then it became a problem for Muzaffar Hussain Shah because People's Party had the majority and MQM had the majority. Muzaffar Shah or Jam Sadiq Ali, for that matter, they were all dependent on MQM's strong support. They had, I don't remember how many MPs they had, but they, without MQM support, it wouldn't have been possible for Jam Sadiq Ali or Muzaffar Shah to form the government. So when MQM decided to pull out, the Muzaffar Hussain Shah's government could have collapsed. So all these tactics were used, the MQM MPs were picked up and, they were forced to join Muzaffar Hussain Shah's government, Some of the PP MPs were also picked up and, they used to bring those MPs in special protection and so ultimately Muzaffar Hussain Shah became the chief minister, in that way. And but ultimately Nawaz Sharif government got weaker and weaker, and in the end he developed a conflict. Then General Asif Nawaz, mysteriously he died, and that's a different mystery, but generally it was believed that, it was natural death, and then General Wahid Kakar became the army chief, and he was the kind of general who always avoided interference, So what he did, that he immediately withdraw the army, but by that time, Nawaz Sharif developed serious differences with Ghulam Asghar Khan, the president. And the point of contention was that Jam Sadiq Ali, who was, before that, recalling it. There were a lot of reports in the media about CIA and the police, Pakistani CIA and the police, and Nawaz Sharif's or Jam Sadiq Ali's anti-home minister Irfanullah Marwat, who was the son-in-law of Ghulam Asghar Khan also, and there was a DIG CIA, Samiullah Marwat. There were all kind of stories, of extortions and bringing air hostesses and businessmen to the CIA center, and and so Nawaz Sharif ordered an inquiry into it, and sent his chairman inspection team, Lieutenant General retired Shafiqur Rahman, to go an inquiry. But since Jam had the support of Ghulam Asghar Khan as well as the army establishment, so he took little notice of Nawaz Sharif's, and General Shafiq was confined to 5-star hotel. And Jam, the kind of person he was, he said that Shafiq साहब आपको जो support चाहिए वो है, आप ये रहें, जिन लोगों से आपको मुलाकात करनी हम कर दें. He was never allowed to visit CIA center.
Okay.
He was never allowed to interview or Irfanullah Marwat or Samiullah Marwat. Samiullah Marwat, I suppose he did, but I don't remember. But there were a lot of businessmen. He compiled a report, and he said that looked like they were behind. He didn't name any particular person, but he narrated that these businessmen came and recorded their statement beforehand. So that was the background. So conflict was there between Ghulam Asghar Khan and Nawaz Sharif. So when Ghulam Asghar Khan, again using 58(2)(b, and dissolved Nawaz Sharif's government, Nawaz Sharif challenged that decision in the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court was headed by Justice Naseem Hasan Shah, who was the Chief Justice. And the Supreme Court unanimously described the dismissal as illegal and unconstitutional. That was the first case against 58(2)(b.
58(2)(b) by Nawaz Sharif,
which he won. And Benazir at that time criticized in a way that when it comes to Punjab, the Supreme Court gave such a verdict when her government was dismissed, that kind of a judgment didn't come. But even then, after his government was restored by the Supreme Court, the conflict continued.
Okay.
And the political crisis started deepens. So ultimately, General Wahid Kakar, and at that time there was a term used in the media, troika. The troika troika means president, prime minister, and the army chief.
Okay.
So whenever conflict took place, these three top people, they decide what to do. So in that meeting, ultimately they decided that, Ghulam Asghar Khan forced Nawaz Sharif to resign. Nawaz Sharif said, okay, I'll quit, but you will also quit.
Quite the condition.
So Ghulam Asghar Khan and Nawaz Sharif both resigned, which paved way for Benazir's second term. 1993 elections, again, there were no serious allegations of rigging as such. But again, writing was on the wall. That since Nawaz Sharif, was thrown out in such a manner, there was no chance of him coming back. So Pakistan's elections normally hardly been rigged at the polling station. They are either pre-poll rigging or post-poll rigging, post-poll management. Pre-poll rigging means political management. This group will go with this group will go with this, and in this way they managed election. So ultimately in 1993 elections, there was an interim government, and the interim prime minister was Moin Qureshi.
Okay.
And the day Moin Qureshi was appointed as prime minister, he never had a Pakistan's national identity.
And he was...
And he became the interim prime minister. And when he landed at the Karachi airport, then he was handed over to national identity card and became the... But what he did in his 90 days, one thing he said to the establishment also, that he will not stay in Pakistan the day after the election.
Okay.
So he said that he had no political ambitions, and he said, as far as the accountability concerned, within 90 days, what he did, he published the entire list of tax evaders.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So that kind of accountability, many people believe that that's the only period in which we saw some kind of an accountability. But after the election, soon after the election, he left Pakistan, and later on, years later, he passed away, and and so Benazir Bhutto's second term started. Then, for the first time, People's Party, succeeded in bringing its president also, and he was Sardar Farooq Laghari, a very close associate of Benazir Bhutto, and had a political background. So Farooq Laghari, Benazir Bhutto had full faith in Farooq Laghari, and Farooq Laghari later on developed differences with Zardari.
Oh, with Zardari. Again, with Zardari. Never with Benazir Bhutto directly.
Yeah. And stories started coming out within after years and all. The first, I think the first 15-14 months went pretty smoothly. And there were not much hue and cry in the media also against the government also. And in Punjab also, some of the other Benazir Bhutto succeeded in bringing her men. And but it was again a coalition government. Benazir never had 2/3 majority.
Okay.
But it was after 1994-95 when General Wahid Kakad withdrew army from Sindh, and it was replaced by Rangers, So then, Benazir Bhutto decided that because law and order situation is still a problem in urban Sindh, and so she decided, and she made Interior Minister Nasirullah Babar, a Lieutenant General retired, and said that she wants law and order situation should be under control. In one of the meetings in Karachi, a report was submitted with Babar by the intelligence agencies, that it's very difficult to arrest these people and prosecute them. So they decided that if we can't, if witnesses are not ready to come up, and if the prosecutions are scared, and so let's do it extrajudicially.
That was worst of its kind ever, Belly.
Yeah, no, that was because Afzal Shigri was the IG Sindh at that time, and he opposed that policy.
Okay.
In that meeting, he said that it happens that at times you did such things, but don't make it an official policy. Don't give police an excuse and a right to kill. If you give officially a force a right to kill, that they can settle their own scores also.
Okay.
And this is exactly what happened. So when his concern was veto, so he opted and he asked the Interior Minister to bring someone else.
Okay.
And he got himself transferred to Islamabad. Then otherwise a very, very professional police officer, Dr. Shoaib Sadl, was brought here. Shoaib Sadl was a very blunt person, and believe in tit for tat. And then a team of police officers, which was initially given the task against the MQM in 1992 by the army. Those police officers were recalled, and they were posted in different press, and they were clearly told that we want results,
Okay.
irrespective at what cost. And those police officers, including names like Rao Anwar, Rao Chaudhry Aslam, Zishan Kazmi, all these kind of people. And during that period of Karachi was badly, managed by the government because there were too many extrajudicial killings. And in retaliation, many police officers were also killed. So situation became so bad in Karachi, that it was practically a mini civil war.
Okay.
And obviously, this situation ultimately led to the incident in which Murtaza Bhutto was also killed. Whether it was planned, whether it was because Murtaza Bhutto's case was again never properly prosecuted, never properly investigated also. Because had it been, it should have been started, and which I once told Benazir Bhutto also, because I used many times interact with her on this case. And I told her that, and she said that she herself was surprised and shocked because her instructions to Nasirullah Babar and that she knew her brother, because they wanted to arrest some of the guards of Murtaza Bhutto, who according to them were behind many killings, So she said, okay, arrest them, but arrest them when Murtaza is not around. So I think Murtaza had a planned meeting in Lahore on 22nd September 1996. But on September 20th, 1996, they conducted this operation. Okay. So she was surprised that why couldn't they waited for 2 days? That was a very that part of investigation never brought up in the case and during the investigation also. Okay. So it's still an open case. I think they have reopened because there were 2 FIRs in this case. One registered by the People's Party Shaheed Bhutto group against police officers, and one by police against People's Party Shaheed Bhutto group. And in the end, both were acquitted. The police officers as well as Shaheed Bhutto. The question remained that who killed Murtaza? So the review is there, and I think today or maybe a day before that there was a hearing also, and a request from some of them to postpone it till the elections,
Okay.
till election, this case. But this case need to be investigated, Interestingly, all the police officers who were arrested and faced long trial, and they also remain in prison also for a long time. Some of them even got promotions during the trial also, and now 2 or 3 officers had also been retired, with full parks. So ultimately, at one point, Farooq Lagari and Asif Ali Zardari, there were reports about their differences, and then these cases. So ultimately, after this Murtaza Bhutto's case, Farooq Lagari, Benazir Bhutto's choice as president, dismissed her government.
Yes.
So when I asked Benazir, she said that yes, he was my choice, but then he became others' choice. So you see, it's a ping pong type of situation, you know. Again, Nawaz Sharif came in the highlight. Again, MQM became the central player but in 1997, you know, Nawaz Sharif got 2/3 majority.
Yes.
You know. Now, Nawaz Sharif also has a very interesting political history. The way he was brought up, the way he was playing cricket in Lahore when one fine day, I think it was in the early 80s, one fine day the deputy commissioner came to him and said, Miyan Sahab, aapko governor sahab bula rahe hain. So Nawaz Sharif said, okay. First he was surprised because the Sharif's family had never been in politics, you know. Although his father was annoyed when Bhutto nationalized Ittifaq factories along with other industries. But he never showed willingness to join politics. But then General Zia-ul-Haq, General Gilani and one of Bade Miyan Sahab's old friend, Brigadier Qayyum, you know, he said, okay, aap nahi aa rahe, to apne 2 bachchon ko de dein hame. And so that's the background. So when Nawaz Sharif said, अच्छा मैं आता हूँ ज़रा kit change कर लूँ, he said, नहीं इसी kit में चलें, कोई मसला नहीं है. So he went there. Now this story was narrated by one of his closest person. And so General Gilani was walking in Governor House lawn, you know. तो नवाज शरीफ से मिले, उन्होंने अच्छा आप माशाल्लाह क्रिकेट भी खेलते हैं. उन्होंने कहा जी मैं क्रिकेट खेलता हूँ. और क्या करते हैं आप इत्तेफाक में? तो he said जी मैं फाइनेंस को देखता हूँ इत्तेफाक से. तो उन्होंने कहा पंजाब के फाइनेंस को भी देखें. And in this way he became the finance minister of Punjab.
That easy.
That easy. So, but then Nawaz Sharif is, you know, when he was initially, he always find difficulty in interacting with the media, giving interviews. He has never used to be, you know, he was he got confused. He lacked that kind of a confidence, because I don't blame him, because he has never been in politics and he was almost forced to be in politics. But then he developed himself, you know, and he made Pakistan Muslim League a very strong political party as well. And since business has always been his mind, so when his father, Bade Miyan Sahab, told General Gilani that मेरा सियासत से क्या ताल्लुक, मेरे बच्चों का सियासत से क्या ताल्लुक, हम कारोबारी लोग हैं. तो according to that source, General Gilani told Miyan Sahab, तो आप कारोबार भी करें और सियासत भी करें. So it was so easy, you know.
Yeah.
So they definitely used Nawaz Sharif's and Sharif's, and then Sharif's, you know, on their own also. They learned the art of politics and business also, and their approach to politics is like vulnerable development. Do everything which look visible. You know, so if you see Punjab, you know, you don't see good schools, you don't see education or what, but you see good bridges. You see motorway is, although motorway is a very novel and a good idea, because it connects the entire Pakistan, you know. And political, and it helps the business activities also, you know. So that's Nawaz Sharif's style of politics. But unfortunately, he always developed conflict with the establishment, and it's not one cannot only blame him. The establishment also tried to use him as his ladla, and whenever he tried to, question them, so they get irritated. So in 1997, when Nawaz Sharif got 2/3 majority, he went too far and too fast, and he did few good things also, like abolishing 58(2)(b.
Yeah.
But he tried to become Amirul Momineen through constitutional amendment, and he three biggest mistake which he committed. You had all the time in the world. You had 5 years. You had 2/3 majority. You were not supposed to do things within a year. So he developed conflict with the then Army Chief General Jahangir Karamat. Jahangir Karamat, obviously, the kind of statement Jahangir Karamat did, made the kind of a statement he made, that there should be National Security Council, So Nawaz Sharif took notice of that. He called Jahangir Karamat that आपको ये बयान नहीं देना चाहिए था, being an army chief. General Jahangir Karamat went back, discussed with his colleagues. Some of them advised him, यार इसको उठा के फेंक दो, क्या है ये, कैसे कह सकता है हमें dictate. But Jahangir Karamat, no. So Jahangir Karamat himself decided to resign. President Farooq Lagari se, he annoyed Farooq Lagari when he decided to abolish 58(2)(b.
Yeah.
So Farooq Lagari and Chief Justice Supreme Court Sajjad Ali Shah, उनके दरमियान एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग बन गई. नवाज शरीफ का सुप्रीम कोर्ट से क्लैश बन गया. So all these things, there was no point of going into these conflicts. Jahangir Karamat was a very professional journalist. For professional general, he should have been told, but आपने कह दिया, that would have been enough. But after that, ultimately, वो बड़ा फेमस हुआ था, सुप्रीम कोर्ट पे अटैक वाली एलिगेशन लगी थी. So Nawaz Sharif somehow or the other badly mismanaged his 1997 government. And then Chaudhry Nisar Ali Khan, who was the interior minister, and Shehbaz Sharif, when Jahangir Karamat resigned, so they decided to bring someone else. So Chaudhry Nisar and Shehbaz Sharif proposed the name of General Musharraf.
Okay.
And I once interviewed Chaudhry Nisar Ali Khan. उसने कहा कि हाँ, ये इल्ज़ाम तो हमारे ऊपर है. Or he said that I and Shehbaz Sharif, because Chaudhry Nisar and Shehbaz Sharif were old buddies.
Okay.
And interestingly, Chaudhry Nisar and Imran Khan are the old buddies also, Oxford, and so. But Chaudhry Nisar Ali Khan, in his own right, is a very straightforward politician, has always been a very straightforward politician. He even opposed 1992 operation, although he was the interior minister. So Chaudhry Nisar said that I and Shehbaz Sharif met General Musharraf in Murree. And after discussing with him, we came back and we proposed the name, or according to him, till then, Nawaz Sharif didn't know much about Musharraf. But within 6 months after the appointment of Musharraf, Nawaz Sharif, was not easy with Musharraf. And he used to say to Chaudhry Nisar and Shahbaz Sharif, ये तो मेरी बात ही नहीं सुनता, so Musharraf had his own style of, he was an SSD commando, and but the real conflict developed with Musharraf, in which I don't blame Nawaz Sharif at all, was when former Indian Prime Minister Vajpayee visited Pakistan, and he went to Minar-e-Pakistan and recognized Pakistan, and after Vajpayee's visit, within few months, Kargil took place. And then this controversy started that the Prime Minister, the army chief didn't took Prime Minister into confidence. And although Musharraf said he did.
Okay.
But Vajpayee called Nawaz Sharif after that and said, Miyan Sahab, ye kya kar diya? So ultimately that led to the conflict between Nawaz Sharif and Musharraf. And on October 12, 1999, prior to the October 1999, there were all kind of stories of these differences. But on October, when Musharraf was in Sri Lanka, now Musharraf and Nawaz Sharif's differences had reached to a point of no return. So when Musharraf went to Sri Lanka, he took some of his commanders into confidence. If the Prime Minister did any adventure, just throw him out. These includes Musharraf's closest generals like General Mahmood, General Aziz, and General Hassan, General Usmani, And this is exactly what happened when on October 12th, Nawaz Sharif dismissed General Musharraf and appointed General Zia-ul-Haq, who was close to Sharif family. And at that time, he was the DG ISI. So when he appointed him and sacked Musharraf, army took over.
Okay.
Although the martial law was not imposed, but practically it was army takeover from Karachi to Islamabad. Nawaz Sharif was thrown out, arrested, detained. So these are the stories from 1988 to 1999.
There was this one more thing, Now, Nawaz Sharif wasn't the right cricketer, but there was one cricketer who was contesting the elections for the first time. It was Imran Khan in 1997. So how was his first election?
Imran Khan, I know Imran Khan personally since 1989. When I was the secretary, Karachi Press Club, I invited Pakistan and Indian cricket team. I invited them to Karachi Press Club, and then we used to meet quite often. He started discussing politics. I started discussing cricket with him.
Okay.
So Zia-ul-Haq, who was very close to Imran Khan, the late Zia-ul-Haq, and whenever Imran Khan launched his party in Lahore in 1995, there was not, among the founding members of the PTI, there were very few, I think, one or two people who really had political background.
Okay.
So he just announced Insaf Party in Lahore, and one of them was Najib Haroon, who is in Karachi, Hamid Khan, and then few others. So then Imran Khan, it was formally launched in 1996. So when 1997 elections were announced, neither Imran nor PTI were ready for the elections. There were people who hardly have any experience of electoral politics. You know. But some of the people, you know, Nazim Haji and, you know, and some other people, they said, nahi, hame kuch experience ho jayega, let's try our luck. So when he used to come to Karachi and to the press club and, you know, address press conference, after the press conference, again when I meet and one of my colleague, Owais Tawheed, we used to discuss cricket with him. So one day Zia-ul-Haq took us to other side. यार politics भी discuss किया करो उससे. So cricket हर वक्त discuss करते रहते हो. So I used to say to Zia-ul-Haq कि यार cricket का अगर वो कोई हमें story देता है तो वो hit होती है, you know. At that time, Imran Khan obviously, you know, has just launched his party and enters into politics. But he has an advantage. He was the person, when he enters in politics, he was not a stranger. So he had been on the screen for other reasons, but he had been on the screen for almost 20-25 years. So when he launched the party, when he started addressing the public meeting, or when they decided to contest the 1997 election and Imran addressed few meetings, public meetings here, a lot of people go and attend those jalsas, you know. And he used to tell me, "Tum khama khain kehte ho mere liye, mujhe siyasat mein abhi bahut seekhna hai. इतना क्राउड तो आ रहा है मुझे सुनने." So I used to say, इमरान ये तुम्हें सुनने नहीं आ रहे, ये तुम्हें देखने आ रहे हैं. So जब 1997 का इलेक्शन, I think he lost from Buns Road. और जहाँ तक मुझे याद है बहुत कम वोट पड़े थे, शायद जमानत भी जब्त हो गई थी. I don't exactly remember the figure. तो ये वो जहाँ से भी लड़ा, he lost. Even from Miawali, I believe. But Imran said that from those elections, we learned how to contest the election. Polling agents उस वक्त नहीं पता थे, उन्हें पता ही नहीं था, voter list का उस तरीके से अंदाज़ा नहीं था. But they, you know,
we just tried it.
हाँ. Which he said that हमने बाद में improve किया. Then he supported Musharraf when he took over, because Musharraf said कि he will not allow Benazir and Nawaz Sharif. So Imran समझा कि Musharraf जो ना कोई वही तकरीबन politics कर रहा है जो वो कर रहा है. So he supported Musharraf. He even voted for Musharraf in 2001 local bodies election.
Okay.
But in 2002, you know, when he went in one of the meetings, जिसमें 2002 के इलेक्शन का चार्ट तैयार हो रहा था कि कैसे 2002 के इलेक्शन कराए जाएंगे, क्योंकि at that time Imran Khan was very against Chaudhry's also, you know, Chaudhry Shujaat, Chaudhry Parvez Alai, सब चोर हैं, सब डाकू हैं. So जब 2002 की मीटिंग में he went there along with Miraj Mohammad Khan, who was at one time he was the founder of PEP. He was a, you know, very you know, strong orator and left wing. So when he joined Imran Khan, he was very happy and he became its general secretary. लेकिन जब 2002 की मीटिंग में they were, you know, a meeting was called by Musharraf, 2002 election किस तरह करने हैं. So perhaps Imran thought that he was his best choice.
Okay.
But when he entered into the President House, he found Chaudhry Shujaat sitting on the right of General Musharraf. और जब उसी वक्त he, you know, according to Miraj Mohammad Khan, you know, Miraj साहब once told me that he said कि ये भी वही निकला. So Ehtisham Zamir, who was at that time the intelligence chief, so he said, नहीं इमरान खान साहब आपको तो हम जिता रहे हैं, एंड हमने एक लिस्ट बनाई हुई है, उसमें आप भी हैं और भी कुछ हैं, लेकिन PML coup and Chaudhry's can counter Nawaz Sharif. You are too new in this field. This is how election.
So you explained to us all the 90s elections, which were like quite a lot, 4 elections. If you were given like a summary of all these elections, and if you were to give a headline to these elections, of the summary of those elections, what would you give it?
How to rig elections. These elections will teach you that it's not necessary to rig elections on election day.
Okay.
Pakistani elections are managed. Pre-election management, post-election management. You don't need to, ballot box उठाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, polling station से voter list को वो करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. Elections, most of the elections in the 90s and starting from 88. I give you an example how IJI was formed. I give you an example how Mehran Bank, Asghar Khan case took place. So they manage election. Making of parties, breaking of parties, making of government, breaking of government. So I have throughout my career I've been a reporter. It's difficult for a reporter to give a headline. It's up to the desk and it's up to the editors to give the headlines. But Pakistan, in Pakistani, I don't know how you will give the headline of these elections. It's up to you. But I hardly till now I don't know about whatever. Maybe in the future we may learn from history that. But as far as Pakistani elections are concerned, Pakistani political history do repeat in Pakistan's politics and elections.
Sir, if you were to compare the 90s elections and the elections which are just upcoming in a few weeks, like 2 weeks away, what would you say is something very similar, which is being repeated?
Disqualification of one politician, disqualification of another politician, but in many ways, what's going on today, I can resemble it with what happened with People's Party in martial law period under General Zia-ul-Haq. But this is not martial law. So the way it looked like an undeclared martial law. Right now, because the way you can law should take its own course. People who had committed crimes or who had violated laws should be prosecuted. But you have disqualified the main contender. Fine, Nawaz Sharif was also disqualified. You for the last only in today's newspaper, means when we are talking on January 24th, there was a story that press was escorted out from Adiala jail, because they have spoken to Imran Khan. So, excuse me, it's more or less the same, but looks like more worse. One was expecting something should have improved. Yes, some laws are improved. Yes, election commission was formed with consensus, but looks like repeat of history of Pakistani elections.
So today with Mazhar Abbas, we discussed the 90s elections, the 4 elections that happened in Pakistan, which were in its own way teaching, in its own way rigged, in its own way had their political ups and downs. This is the first episode of our election campaign, electoral history show. The others would be available on DawnNews English. Please stay tuned. This is done in collaboration with Dawn.com. My name is Hawa Fazil. Thank you.